Listen, so guys, Ruben West is a phenomenal motivational speaker, life coach, um, dojo owner. Like I said, he was the guy that helped craft what the Surgeon's Assistance Program, and he did some other stuff with some equipment too in the surgery room. Just a brilliant brother, and but as humble as they come, and as of course, been to the church and spoke and helped train. He's just a great person. So, but Ruben, you own some karate dojos. You are a black belt speaker. CEO. You own your own black belt training for public speaking.
Yep.
How are you coping with COVID, and what are you doing at this time to kind of pivot?
So that's an excellent question. Uh, how are we coping, or how am I coping? Creatively. And I think that's what we all have to do when we're in business. I've had a medical staffing company, a surgical assistant company, my martial arts school for 22 years, public speaker, public speaking training firm. I mean, over and over. And what I can tell you is you have to be able to roll with the punches. So many people go into business with plan A, right? And they think it's going to work this way. And you may have seen it work that way for someone else. It doesn't mean it's going to work that way for you. Most of the people come into business as a, listen to this, as a copy. I'm gonna say that again. A lot of people come into business as a copy. They don't come in as an original. And so when you're not an original, all you can do is replicate what other people are doing. Then when it gets tough, you can't keep up because they're not coming to you for an original reason. So for me, I always focus on why I got into what I'm doing, what makes me stand out, what is my unique product offering, what is it that I have that no one else has and that they can get nowhere else. And then I speak on that, and I believe it 110%. And in doing so, listen to this, the customer gets their belief from you. So a lot of times, we go in almost apologetically. I love what Brother Kendall said. He said that sometimes you got to go in and show them first. I believe that 100%. When I started the surgical assistant profession, it was not a profession in the state of Kansas. It did not exist. I offered the hospital executives, let us come in for free and do it to show you. My theory, sometimes free work is the key work. We went in day after day working with all these different surgeons to show them the value of what we could bring to the table. And then Hell Week hit. That's when they needed us and we weren't available. Now, let me tell you what happened. They went back to the hospital administration and said, hey, if you give these guys a contract, we will bring all of our surgical procedures to your hospital. They called us back. And in one day, I went from being a surgical tech to being a surgical assistant, a brand new profession at the hospital. And so the theory is, listen to this, don't work to make your presence known, work to make your absence felt. If you're providing extreme customer service, once they don't get that service, they should feel it. They should come back to you and say, you know what, I made a mistake of going over to that restaurant or going to that shoe store or going to that hair company, and it's just not like you. So what I try and do is always stick to why I went into it, what makes me stand out, and then provide a service so well that if they walk away, they're going to feel it.
Wow, man! If I was in church, I'd give an offering. So for those that may be listening, of course, you're watching and being a part of the Interfaith Small Business Association. It is geared for small and minority-owned businesses, not to exclude anyone, and you don't have to have. We're not a group that's necessarily built on any particular faith, a religious faith. We're asking you to have faith in your business, have faith in you, have faith in your plan and moving forward. And if you do those things, we believe at the Interfaith Small Business Association, you're going to be poised for success. Doesn't mean you're going to have every day a sunny day, but then when you get through your cloudy days, you'll understand and you'll be able to stand through the storm. So you're here, you can go to the Interfaith Small Business Association website, and there'll be a link provided. And our host, of course, my name is Patrick Sanders. We have Dr. Ruben West, we have Miss Regina Gaines, and we have Dr. Kendall Wright. All of these are professional CEOs. They're in their own space, experts in what they do. And we're here just to have a great conversation around small business and what it looks like in the minority family. That's what this conversation is driven toward. And I hope that you're able to glean from us. Each one of these individuals will be being provided their website so that you can reach out and find out what they're doing on a day-to-day work schedule. And if there's something that they can provide, I'm pretty sure if you shoot them an email, they'll be more than happy to respond. However, now, if it gets overwhelming, don't hold them to the fact that they can't get to you right away. So, Rex said, Ruben, you have done surgeon assistant. You are, of course, a veteran, and we want to say thank you for your service. And you've done some great things. You're in Africa as much as Kendall is in China. So I think you guys should have dual citizenship here in a minute.
Somewhere, huh?
And of course, Miss Regina Gaines is serving the world one glass of wine at a time, and bottles are available.
All right.
So, all right. Just some great people. So, Dr. Wright, when you're training, once again, what does that look like with you for a small business person? How would they get in contact with you?
Yeah. So,
or do you work with small business owners?
I do. I work with corporations, community leaders, as well as churches. And so here's what I've learned, that the venues may change, but the challenges are very similar. As long as there are people involved, I can help.
Okay.
As long as you need to have an understanding and a mastery of the human dynamics that influence how people make the decision to invest their discretionary effort, I can help.
Okay.
So the process includes executive coaching, trying to figure out what it is that this executive wants to achieve, why he or she thinks that's not happening currently, what have they already tried, and then we put together a series of skills-based activities to enhance their effectiveness, particularly when they're working with people who might be different from themselves. One of the things that stand out for me by way of my training experience is how hard it is to have a constructive accountability conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Folks will jump out of the tallest tree in Texas without a parachute.
Yes.
Before they sit somebody down and share with them how their actions were inconsistent with the expectation, what the result of that was, and what the desired future behavior would be. It's like grandma's recipe for cha-cha, chitlins, or apple pie, whatever it is that grandma was known for around your place. When you have the recipe, you increase the likelihood of a favorable outcome.
Right.
But when you're freestyling in the kitchen, when it's time to correct, you don't know how much paprika you put in. You don't know if you should have used shallots or green onion. You don't know.
Right.
And so you need a recipe. You need a template. The template is empowering. It helps you to become, and these are my keywords, proactive and preemptive.
Okay.
It helps you to become proactive and preemptive.
Good.
And so it works on an individual coaching. It works on a group. It works on group coaching. These are important aspects of leading, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Miss Regina, question for you, because I've been to your shop. Once again, you have a diverse employee group. How do you manage that diversity?
I think it's very simple. See, I decided to hire the best candidate, and deciding to hire the best candidate, then it just didn't matter what the color was. And I think that I kind of learned from the reverse, meaning that it's been many times that we walked into the place, especially as a Black woman, we've always been highly educated, few degrees, the best candidate, and we didn't get picked for social or cultural purposes. I figured I was going to put the blinders down and just hire the best candidate. And the best candidate sometimes turned out white, sometimes they turned out black, sometimes it turned out as a man. And it didn't even matter really if I even needed that particular role or not. I just felt like if it was the best possible person, then we can always do a shift and kind of figure out where people need to be.
So do you do training, service training?
So yeah, so a lot of times in my store, the best candidate, a lot of them already have like the service training aspect about them.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is we kind of wrote something a few years ago called TQM, Total Quality Management. So we kind of got into there and kind of let them know what our niche is, what our approach is, what we coin as the best way to approach it based upon our business model. So it's not so much of a free for all. Once we give our employees that knowledge, then we allow them to be able to kind of use it more so as a tool to be able to deliver the services, to be able to get to the end result. You know, one of the things about being a small business and then coming from a corporate background, I think the thing that I would tell small businesses is that because you're a small business don't mean you're not a corporation. That's just the thing that I think we kind of do wrong. And
what does that mean, Regina? What's the point you're making there?
I think it's just because of how we run things. You know, I think that I try my best to kind of, you know, instill practices and processes that I know that are sustainable for growth. You know, to me, it's always figuring out how to be prepared for growth or being prepared for a pivot. And I think the best way to be able to do that is the things that you know how to do good, figure out how to do great, things that you know how to do great, figure out how to master, and things that you're doing okay, figure out how you can do good. And the only way that you can do that is to be able to figure out how to observe yourself and evaluate yourself all the time. So every year, it has been something that we needed to do in order to get to the next level. And it's been a nonstop process, even if it's my own personal development, if it's the development of employees, or even just trying to enhance the practices in the business model of the store. Nothing is ever concrete.
Okay. So you're in personal development all the time, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you have to be. So one of the things that we did was we went into the retail space. So if you listen to most people, retail is dead. Well, I started paying attention to Amazon. So as they sit here and saying that retail was dead, Amazon keep buying brick and mortars.
Right.
So
yes.
Retail wasn't dead.
Yeah.
Right. So
Amazon's gonna be the leading game changer.
Right. So I figured that, and if you look into their practices, Amazon hasn't invested any more money into their technology experience on shopping online. You are dealing with the same interface now for the past 5 years. Actually, it's kind of clustered now. It's almost impossible to deal with. And I think the reason why they're doing that is because they're trying to figure out how to take that experience to a brick and mortar and make it more convenient for customers to go buy and pick their product up at the closest destination. So, or they're changing their business model. We know they're changing their business model. So I think that, you know, the theory of all of this is that sometimes you need not to pay attention to what people are saying. You kind of got to understand and follow the trends and pay attention to the trends of the leader. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you have to go on your intuition. And if you decide to go onto your intuition, nobody really understands what you're talking about, but you have to be prepared to develop the business model to go behind your intuition, because where you're going, nobody's going before. So it's a lonely game. So you need to be able to back up your business case. And that's kind of what I learned from that experience.
Yeah.
So it's saying you need to be you need to act like you're a company, so a corporation. So when you start talking like that, then it's not longer the mom and pop feel, or I'm self-employed, so I don't need to be accountable, as you know, Dr. Wright was saying, to people. I think the worst mistake that people make is that you don't answer to anybody. And when you're in business for yourself, you answer to probably more people than you ever have.
Absolutely true.
Right.
Absolutely true.
Than you ever have. And then the level of accountability is a lot higher. So you actually talked about my relationship with Dan Gilbert. Well, I actually account for, I deal with him. So I deal with his team, and there's accountability there on a lot of levels. Where's she at? What's she doing? What those numbers looking like? It's real. And on all my lenders. So you have to keep making a business case time and time again on why you need the support you need to even.
And so as I listened to Regina earlier, the things she was saying was right on the line.
All right.
They weren't worried about how much I was paying myself. They wanted to see what I was putting in the game.
Yes, sir.
In the end, they're not come in and run my business. They want me to run it. They're betting on the fact that I will be the person running my business and driving it to the next level. And so if you don't show them that, they're never going to open the checkbook. So when I went in, I showed them where I was already at, what I had done, what I had put in, what my future plans were. And it took 2 days. The first group of people I talked to, 2 days later, they said, hey, we got somebody that wants to put in the money. And here's what he said. We believe in you. All that stuff you're saying, we don't know anything about surgical assisting. We don't know anything about suture and tying kids. We don't know anything about that. But there's something about your energy, your passion, your commitment, and what you're saying up here that gets us excited about your business.
Yes.
That's what they're betting on. They're not betting on your business. They're betting on you first and then the business. So I love what Regina said when she said, for me to go in and say, I pay myself $250,000, then they're not coming for that. You want the money. They're expecting you to put in the effort as well. So I think she was right on the money with that. And then with what Kendall said, hey, look, if you don't know where you're going, how can you lead them to where they're going?
Right.
Right. You can't. And then so many people have a hard time having critical conversations. I was in the Gulf War in 1991. I was 21, 22 years old. I was already E6 staff sergeant. So I was in charge over in the war. And so I learned early how to make those conversations. And sometimes in that situation, it could be life or death. And so I just got comfortable with saying, this can't happen. We got to go in a different direction. You got to do it polite and all that, but you have to do it. And some of the reasons why companies go awry or they don't really manifest the results that they're capable of is because they are afraid to sit down with the person and let them know that they're not cutting the mustard. They're not meeting the standard. And then watch this. And then what happens is they come back at the end of the year and say, hey, you weren't good. You didn't talk to me all year.
Man, stop it. Stop it.
Why would you wait till my year evaluation and tell me I had more communication? Or why would you wait till my year evaluation and tell me I wouldn't hit the numbers? There are certain things that when you see it happen, if you intervene right there and tell them, hey, I just wanted to bring you in and let you know something. This is where we're going and this is where you're at. You're not quite meeting it. What I'd like to do is create some corrective measures to get you back on track. Most people want to be on track. They think they're doing a great job. So when you come to them and say, all year you've been messing up and you ain't been meeting, they're like, what? I didn't even know anything about it. So I think Kendall was right on the money when he said that.
Great.
Dr. West, you nailed it, man. The simple principle is this: the closer to the occurrence that you provide the feedback, the higher the probability of the change in the behavior. When you procrastinate in delivering the message, you not only undermine the performance of the direct report, but you also undermine the trust element in the relationship. Because if you are truly invested in me, you're going to give me the feedback I need in order to meet and or exceed the expectation.
Yeah.
When we're invested in the individual, when we truly invest in that person, we'll have that conversation. And not to take just a minute, Regina, not to take it out of the context of the workplace, but this is a love issue. If I truly love you, I'm going to safeguard against your demise.
Right.
I'm not going to let you walk out in the middle of the street and a car is coming, whether I know you're not.
Right.
All right.
And I think you're absolutely right. And I also too think that as a minority and as a woman, I think as a minority sometimes, as a Black person, I think that we sometimes get caught up in who giving us the help.
Right.
And I think that sometimes as a woman, we don't speak up. So I've been dealt with both blows before about who is giving me the help versus me speaking up. I think also too, to kind of capitalize off your thing, I think that it's a level of standard that you should be able to engage in on your business. And you have to be able to elevate your conversation to discuss your business. And I think that where we go wrong sometimes as a minority, as a Black person, as well as a woman, that we just don't give ourselves the tools and the resources that we need to have the right conversation at the right time about the topics on our business, not what's going on in our business, but on our business.
Yeah.
And it's just certain fundamentals that I know that we are having a hard time with. Is one is having a proper financial statements. That just bothers, bugs me that we can't produce a financial statement to kind of discuss our business. Figuring out the proper banking relationship. I know that's a hard topic for us, but believe it or not, more banks are open to have a relationship with us. We just didn't do what we needed to do at times to be able to start formulating our relationship. And I think the third thing is we have to get better at is just, which is hard for me. I mean, that was like my thing in 2019 was systems. We can't compete not having the proper systems. Yeah. And even now I have a whole system that I'm still trying to figure out how to learn, but I have it. And I think that is what is key. We can't allow the technology gap interfere with our ability to service our business. And you got to do it. And there's no hinder to that. And I think a lot of the Black businesses that are struggling through this COVID period is because they were already handicapped in the beginning. They didn't have a banking relationship. They didn't have financials. They didn't have, they wasn't using technology. It was just certain things that were just basic that they just went because they've had a core base. And when the world came upside down, they wasn't prepared. I think that I have to keep reminding entrepreneurs that the world comes upside down every 8 years. It's no different. We was here 2008. We was here, depending on what part of the country you was in, it was 2005. It was 94. It was, 88. Like we go through.
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Right. It's the cycle. And one of the things that I do think, and I'm gonna say the powers that be, I do think we have power, but we need to talk about the powers that be. We know that universe exists. We can't keep having businesses fail too. And then when these cycles happen, we come up with new programs and then we have a new start of new businesses. And long as they can get successful before the next economic downturn, that's kind of that new chase of clock that we're running with. So we can't have that need. That we have to be able to teach minority and women entrepreneurs about sustainability. And I think that's not a conversation that is basically taught a lot. It's how do you sustain? We're so busy trying to tell them that they need to make money, and making money and sustainability are two different things. And they need to be taught. Sustainability is not taught.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I think, guys, when we talk, particularly in the urban community, about banking, I was in a training before COVID, and I thought it was interesting because this group was there, and the young man said in the training session, because they were looking for automation, trying to help minorities get automation, and he was like, well, my credit score won't allow me to get a check cashing machine. Do you know how bad your credit score has to be for a bank not to give you a check cashing machine?
Yeah. Not necessarily. And that's what we need to talk about, because I know some African Americans that had 700s and couldn't get a check cashing machine.
Really?
So yes, that's not necessarily true.
So it was relationship?
It's relationships, because at the end of the day, when you walk into because he can get a mortgage, and that's the argument that I'm trying to say. So just for the fact that he told you that he could get a check cashing machine, it was already assumption made that he didn't meet the standard. But that's not true. The problem is that, he goes into Chase Bank and he says he needs to be able to set up a POS system, and this is what he needs. And they're looking at him and they would not give him what he needs for a small business. However, if he applied for a mortgage, they'll give it to him. It's the craziest thing. And we need to figure out how to stop that cycle. It's the cycle of that is just totally unfair. I know personally, in my early businesses that I got approved for an $800,000 house, but I couldn't get a $250,000 small business loan in 2005 and 2006 in Texas. That was horrible. That story is being told too many times. And we have to figure out how not to let that narrative happen. Why can't people get approved for a mortgage but can't get a POS system?
Right. So does that conversation go to the national SBA and start having, is that banking, where do you think we go or begin with that conversation?
I don't know if it's SBA, but I definitely think we can even go as far as kind of like holding American Express accountable, International Bank Card. We need to start talking to all those places who are processing credit cards. Like, why is this the case? It is, it's not right. We know that if he able to get a debit card, he should be able to get a check cashing machine.
Right.
They will approve credit on so many different levels. Right now, was it a firm? You want to buy something, they give you credit for it immediately with your phone number. So that is a problem of unfairness and inadequacy that we need to talk about, that needs to be addressed, because that story that you tell me about, I hear on too many different fronts.
Okay.
And they can get a car.
This is what I've learned is that banking is like politics, and all banking is local. That I can get what I need, and through my relationships with folks that I know from my business community. I've served on the board of the Chamber of Commerce and all those kinds of things, and those relationships go much further than even your credit score. But you have to be willing to invest in those relationships, and the investment is how can I be of service? I do small team trainings for this location of a bank. Don't charge them for it. The word gets around. Now I'm doing regional. After regional, then you're national. So I believe, just like politics, that banking is local.
Okay. All right.
I would also say that there is sometimes when we go into small business quite the duality. And what I mean by that is, to me, and this is just me personally, it's unreasonable to think that you're going to go be this successful business person, man or woman, financially, and you're going to be unsuccessful financially, personally. I think you have to learn to run your personal finances. You have to understand it from that standpoint as you move into business, because at some point that doesn't make sense. And there's nothing wrong with trying it and going to start a business, but I think, you got to start with you. You got to even run. We talk about those difficult conversations. It's going to be difficult to be a leader of a company, and you can't have conversations with your spouse, you can't run your home. I mean, these are universal principles that we have to develop in ourselves that we use all the time. If you look at anybody who positions themselves as excellent, any athlete, they want to be excellent everywhere. Like they strive for this level of excellence. It's a habit. It's the way you do things. And I think to not try and be excellent in your personal finance, but believe, well, if I just get a business, then I'll go be excellent. I think you're taking the cart before the horse, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a man thing. I'm tell you firsthand, I'm a woman and I cannot wait to get married, because I sure enough not trying to run my household, but that's a different story.
You already run a household.
So
are you single?
Yeah, I am, but I'm not running my household. Like I'm truly blessed. So it's just me, my mother.
No, but I don't want to give them the wrong idea. You don't manage your finances. You don't pay your bills on time.
I'm not gonna say that. What I'm gonna say is that I figure out what I needed to do in order to survive. I do have a mother that truly believes in me, so I was able to really downsize my personal lifestyle and do some things together with her prior to when I had a lot. So we've been able to invest properly, but that's just because that was her. That wasn't me. I do think women is a little different, because we're not built to like take care of our household financially. Like my father refused to teach me how to buy a car. He taught me how to run a business, but he didn't want to teach me how to buy a car or buy a house. He just felt
Really?
I was too independent. He didn't want me to die. He said independent. That was what his thing was. So I could just tell you as a woman, believe it or not, it's just certain functionalities that I just really don't know how to do because I wasn't taught, but I wasn't supposed to be taught that. And I do think with women, it is a difference. I see a lot of women that are great at running their businesses, but they necessarily can't tell you what's going on in their household. And I think, that's by design. So I don't think with women, I think the criteria can be a little bit different.
Well, could be. I mean, that's an interesting perspective.
And I don't want to know, to be honest with you.
You don't want to know how to balance your checkbook? Like you don't want to know how to balance your checkbook? I'm just saying being financially responsible, everybody should want to know. And if you don't want to know, I would be worried about marrying you if you weren't going to be financially responsible.
I am very financially responsible.
And that's what I'm talking about. People have to learn how to be financially responsible personally.
I do think it's a difference. It's a different kind of responsibility when it comes to a woman and a man in terms of a household.
Bishop, I believe.
Yeah, that's a belief.
I believe that the points that were just made around the requirement, the necessity for self-discipline,
right,
is crucial because early on, you don't have a lot to discipline. I mean, there's no cash flow. You're just working.
Right.
But when you get that first big check, when you get that first big check, then you really have to ask yourself, do I have a plan for what I'm going to do with these profits?
Right.
The word says that a man ought to be a good caretaker of his own home before he steps out to seek the office of a bishop or an elder.
Right.
And so the reality is that you need to be practicing on while you only got $1, because when you get to 80 and the 850 and the 800,000, right, the temptation to make bad decisions.
Yes.
Right. The other thing is, even at, one of the things that I've found with the people that I've worked with and kind of talked to is building those relationships when you only have $1. Like, if nobody helps you manage your money when you have $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, then you're not going to have the trust when you get that $800,000 check to say, I'm going to put it here, you're going to oversee it. The trust hasn't been built. But if they helped you build it up when you don't have but 5,000 or 10,000 and you grow along the way, you're also building the trust. And I think that's one of the things when she was talking about the relationship capital, I think that goes a long way because now you know who you can trust because they've helped you build along the way.
Yeah.
And I do think what I tell entrepreneurs is that if you don't have a relationship with a bank, we still have Black banks, especially in Detroit, like First Independence Bank, start there. I think Michigan has been great with credit unions. I think that we should, as small businesses, start to use the credit union model to do so, right? I also think, too, is that relationships, like I said, is very key. I think for me, anybody can get a check. I think can you generate revenue has always been my key. Everybody don't know how to make money. So I think I like to be able to see not only if your ability to get money, but can you more so generate revenue? Because if you generate revenue, then you're very clear on how much money you need and when you need it, or even if you need it. And I remember somebody asked me one time, what do I need? What's my ask? And when I realized that, I probably would have done better, which I did, asking him to give me the manpower to develop my technology to help me find certain things versus asking money to be able to pay a consultant to do it. So a lot of times it's understanding, what is your ask? Yeah. How do you get it? And most importantly, I'm more interested, can you generate money versus you getting money? Because if you can't turn $1 into $5, I don't really have no use for you.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, listen, guys, I wanted to make sure we stayed on point. We started a little late, so we're going to end just a little late. I want to say, can you guys give me a final thought, each person, and then wrap up. Make sure you give, if you want to give your website out where people can reach out, do that as well. And then we're going to wrap this up for this this big series of events. Let me say this. Thank you to each one of you taking your time out. Thank you for your knowledge, your wisdom, your expertise. And you know, if you ever need me, don't hesitate to reach out. Let's start with Miss Regina first. Final thoughts, and let's wrap up, Miss Regina.
I just know that personally, I know these times are difficult. I just tell everybody to kind of have faith in God, have confidence in your own skill set. Don't be scared to enhance your skills. And I think this is a time to be patient and work on the plan and understand that we're in this for 18 months, not 3 months, and work on that 18-month plan. And I think if you stay the course, you will be able to get through these hard times. And also, too, most importantly, this is the time where millionaires and billionaires are created. So if you have that ultimate idea, it's time to go after it. Don't be scared. Don't let anybody tell you no. I am located at 1433 Woodward Avenue, downtown Detroit. My website is www.houseofpurevan.com. We do ship. We do have a wine club. And we also able to answer any questions needing to any dinners or pairing. And we have a huge selection of African-American winemakers that we sell actually on our site. Thank you for having me. And I will be able to do this again anytime for you, Patrick.
Thank you so much, dear. So much. Dr. Kendall Wright.
Never fail to deliver your best. Know that you need accept nothing less. Aspire, cultivate, and test. And God will take care of the rest. My name is Kendall Wright. I'm known as the Actualizer. You can find me at IntelliKeyCan.com. EntelliKeyCan.com. By the way, IntelliKey is a real word. IntelliKey means moving from possibility to reality. And that's what I do. I help organizations and individuals move from the possibility of being highly efficient, highly effective, highly profitable to making that a reality.
Wow.
Thanks for inviting me to participate.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Ruben West.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me say thank you to the other two, Regina and Dr. Wright. Thank you. Great information, great content. And even if I'm not on the panel, I definitely want to get on and listen to you two. Great information. What I would say to everybody out there is that you have a story, and facts tell, but stories sell. Whenever I talked about my business, I went in and told them the story of why I had to assist in surgery. When I started my martial arts school, I told the story of why I had to work with these young kids. And that story got told to the next customer, to the next patron, to the next person. And sometimes what you're going to need is a powerful story as to why you went into business, why you're providing that type of service, why you do what you do. And that very service is the catalyst to let people know, I connect with him, I connect with her, I connect with them. I'm Dr. Ruben West, founder of Black Belt Speakers, helping you put the punch in your presentation. And if you need the story of why you went into business, you can reach out to me. It's rubenwest.com, RUBENWEST.com. And I would love to help you tell the story of your business.
Thank you all so much. Listen, I'm Patrick Sanders. I work with and for the Interfaith Small Business Association. You can find us at that interfaithsmallbusinessassociation.com. We love to help and serve you. We do really want you to know that it's not just about believing in God, but believing in your product, your service, and yourself. So we thank God for all of our panelists. We thank you all for visiting with us. And if you get a chance tonight, reshare this out. It'll be on the YouTube channel for Interfaith Small Business Association. Once again, thank you, Ms. Regina Gaines. Thank you, Dr. Kendall Wright. Thank you, Dr. West, Ruben West. And we look forward to seeing you on another Interfaith Small Business Association webinar real soon. Until next time, hope you have a great day and keep being inspired.
Got it.